Welcome back. The fight for freedom. As a child, Kent Wong lived in the still young People's Republic of China with his family. He dreamed of going to medical school and becoming a doctor. Then came the Cultural Revolution, and he had to escape China. Wong risked his life, along with other, quote, freedom swimmers, to escape China and swim to Hong Kong. He was caught, and then he was thrown in jail by the Chinese Communist Party, but he made it to Hong Kong on a third try. He would later arrive in the United States as a political refugee and achieve his American dream. He graduated from Harvard Medical School. Dr. Wong documenting his incredible story in a new book out in stores today, and he joins me right now. The book is Swimming to Freedom: My Escape from China and the Cultural Revolution. Author Dr. Kent Wong, good to have you, sir. Thanks very much for joining us, and congratulations to you. What a story. Can you tell us a little about why you wanted to escape so much from the Communist Party? Walk us through life in China under CCP rule.
Thank you, Maria. I escaped from China after the Cultural Revolution, and I was sent to a village. And my family moved from Hong Kong to China to help the newly formed People's Republic. But my father was punished in 1958 during the Great Leap Forward movement. So I was accused as a little bastard, and because of my father, and with all the all the high school students, we were sent to the village to be re-educated by president. There's no future. Then I escape, just like hundreds of thousands of young people, to Hong Kong. And many died in the water. 3 of my friends died. 1 is my very close friend. And I decided to write a book. And I think if nobody write a story, they will forever be forgotten.
Yeah, Dr. Wong, I'm really enjoying your book that I'm reading right now. Look, what I say a lot when talking about the Chinese Communist Party, and I want to say it again, this is not about the Chinese people. This is about the rule of the Chinese Communist Party. And we watch their behavior every day, bullying neighbors in the South China Sea, the human rights abuses in Xinjiang, where the 1 million are locked up, the intellectual property theft, and the list goes on. But, Dr. Wong, you wrote an op-ed for the LA Times recently where you said that Hong Kong you saw as a beacon, and it is, quote, forever lost. What are your thoughts on what's going on in Hong Kong right now, what China has done in terms of its authoritarian rule? I am chilled when I see this picture of the Chinese police doing the goose step on the ground in Hong Kong, because for me, too, as a global journalist for many years covering the global economy, I traveled to Hong Kong, and it was literally, it was an international business hub. It is a very different place right now. Give us a sense of what's going on there.
The last time I was in Hong Kong was in 2014. I have been following Hong Kong's development quite closely. I think the world should consider Hong Kong is forever lost. It's no longer the freedom as the beacon for freedom and democracy. So you should really see Hong Kong as a part of China. And that is what I want to say. So that's why I'm afraid to go back to Hong Kong, because I know if I go back to Hong Kong, I will be caught and then probably sent to China in the jail, and I'm too old to escape. And I'm no way I can escape from China this time. So that is really something everybody should be careful, and to prevent any similar things happen in other places.
Yeah, I mean, right now, the Navy is worried about China invading Taiwan. Is Taiwan the next battleground where we're going to see those Chinese police doing the goose step on the ground in Taiwan? Dr. Wong, what changed recently for the CCP that made it even more inward-looking than before? Was it Xi Jinping, who is the leader who is most like Mao? He's dictator for life at this point. Has he taken China even more inward and communist than before? Because there was a 40-year engagement here with the U.S. led with China that we thought, well, maybe we can come to agreement and, you know, have free trade on the global stage and have a respect for each other's governing. But that didn't happen. The CCP continues to steal intellectual property, continues to bully neighbors and break promises on the global stage.
Maria, you are exactly right. And Xi of today and Mao of yesterday, they share the same DNA. And everybody knows what DNA is. But many people overlook the Xi and the Politburo bow to Mao's tombs before the military parade of the 70 years anniversary. So it's very clear the signals, the symbolic. Chinese like to do symbolic as a hint. And then if people pay attention to it, then we'll know, well, that is the goal. When I was in China, Mao wanted to rule the world. And the Great Leap Forward of 1958 is going to surpass British in 15 years. At that time,
yep, that's
36 million people die in hunger, and only 6 million people die in the Jewish concentration camp during the Second World War. But nobody knows about it.
Yep, that's right. Dr. Wong, and right now we know that Xi Jinping's goal is to overtake the United States as the #1 superpower. That is why we focus so much on the CCP. Dr. Kent Wong, such an important interview and an important book. Thank you for joining me this morning.